Hello and welcome to another 3-string song lesson. So going back to a bit of blues today. So this is Baby Please Don't Go, and the particular version we're looking at is by Van Morrison's original band called Them from the 1960s. So this tune goes way back. I think I had a look on Wikipedia, and it's basically traditional song, but it was first recorded by Big Joe Williams in 1935. But one of the versions, or the version which was the most influential, is probably Muddy Waters' recording from the early 50s. But we're doing the Van Morrison version because it just works really nicely on 3 strings. It's got a nice sort of driving bass which we can actually incorporate alongside the riffs. And we are in open E tuning, which is E, B and E. Now we're very, very close to the original studio recording for the Van Morrison version, which was actually in F, but I suspect that the guitarist either tuned up by half a step by a semitone or put a capo on fret 1, because you basically have to use open strings to be able to play the riff properly. So we're playing in E. And if you wanted to play with the original song, you would either need to stick a capo on fret 1 and everything goes up a step, or you take the original recording and put it in, say, like a speed changer app or something, and reduce or lower the pitch by 1 semitone, so it'd be like -1. And then once you've learnt everything, you can play along with it. And if you want to play along with the full song, you can download a completely free song chart from the website. So there's a link above or in the text description below, and that'll allow you to play along. But let's get straight on with learning the song. Okay, so this one is using the blues scale. So quick recap: open position E blues scale, open E, fret 3, fret 5, fret 6. That's the note that's like the blues note. Open B, fret 3, fret 5, so there's the octave. So 6 notes in this scale. Open, fret 3, fret 5, fret 6, open, fret 3, fret 5. So there's a sort of explanation video, demo video with the blues, different blues riff songs, blues scale songs, but there's also an explanation video, so you can check that out if you want. Just goes into it in a bit more detail, but we are using this key for the main riff. Now, what we're going to do first is just like learn the basic tune. So what I was doing in the arrangement was it's full band song, including vocals, but there's a bass line which is basically doing that all the way through. It's got like a little slapback delay echo sound, but it's basically just 2 notes. We can put that in, but let's just learn the main guitar riff first. Okay, so the original is quite high. If I was to play and make it properly sound like the original, now you can see it's a bit of a faff. Even though it kind of sounds like the original, I don't think it's a very good way of playing it, to be honest. So we want to play in this sort of register. It generally works much better on this instrument. So we're knocking quite a bit of it down by an octave. It's the same notes, but it's lower pitch. So we're going to be hammering on from open B string to fret 3, and then playing the open E, pull off from 3 to open on the E, pull off from 3 to open on the B, and then finish back on open E. So that's the first part of the riff. Now, it's got quite a fast driving feel to it, quite a fast driving rhythm, and it's shuffly. It's got a swung rhythm to it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 and 2 and 3. So it's basically uneven, as in you've got like long and short notes. You can hear that it's got sort of a bounce to it, so that's a swung rhythm. But if you practice going hammer on, pick, pull, off, pull off, okay, and that is the first part. You do the same thing again, but instead of finishing on the high E, I'm going to go right down to that note, which is fret 6, so that's the blues scale note. I'm going for fret 6 on the bass string. Hammer on, pick, pull, off, and then from there so that's the same as the intro riff, exactly the same as the first time, finishing on this high note, this high E. Pull off from 3 to open on the middle string and slide from 6 to 7 on the bass string. So that note there is a B, so it's the same as the open B, but I'm sliding into it. So it's 6 to 7 and then play the high E. A little bit tricky this part. So that is, you've slid into 7 from 6, but then you slide from 6 down into 5, and it's quite fast on the original, so it kind of helps to actually pull off at the same time. Now it's a bit awkward, that, so you've got to watch your hand position. You might find having your thumb a bit further down helps. If you over the top, you might be a bit too tense. You got to stay relaxed here, otherwise it'll be really difficult to get your handle kind of grind to a halt if you've got like a death grip on. So you want to be a bit more relaxed. So it's 6 to 5, pull off, down to the open E. Now at this point we've ran out of road, so we want to because we've dropped all of this first half down by an octave, so we actually need to jump back up to be able to finish the riff off. So it still sounds pretty good, but it sounds a little bit different to the original Van Morrison recording. So we're just running down like a pentatonic, minor pentatonic scale here. So it's 3, pull off from 5 to 3, play, fret 5, and then 5, 3, open. I'm doing a double pull off here because again it's relatively quick. So I'm flicking off from, holding both these down together, flicking off from, pulling off from 5 to 3, and then flicking onto the open string. 5, 3, open. So that's the end part. So there is another video which is like a sort of warm-up exercise video, and there's a specific one looking at like hammer-ons and pull-offs, so I would probably check that one out. I'll put a link for it if you're finding any of this difficult, which you may well do because it's a little bit on the tricky side. But bearing all that in mind, let's just try the main riff again. So hammering on, pick, pull off, pull off, there's the open E, and then do all that again. There's fret 6 on the bass string. Do it all again, but this time pull off from 3 to open on the middle B string, slide from 6 to 7, there's the high E, slide from 6 to 5 and pull off to 3, there's open E. We kind of jump up an octave, 3, pull off 5 to 3, play those two notes, fret 5 twice, then play it again, pull off to 3, and then double pull off to the open as well. It kind of slows down there, so we can just pick those last 3 notes on the bass string, 5, 3. So. We'll go over the timing in a minute. Okay, so quite tricky that. I would definitely learn that. So that's the guitar part. You know, slightly adapted, but I think it still sounds good. Very bluesy. Get used to that. But if we want to start putting the bass back in, we're basically going. The bass line is dead simple. Open E on beat 1, F sharp on beat 2. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's just kind of shuffling along. Sounds slightly different on the original because there's some delay on that, but that's the notes. So now that's basically on the beat, that note there. So we're actually going to start the bass line from fret 2. It just kind of makes sense with how the riff, sort of where the riff starts, the timing of it. 1, 2, 3. Straight away, I've got a problem here. I mean, that's how the riff sounds on the original. This note is lower than those ones, but I can't let that ring out and still play the bass because it's on the same string. So I was actually just cheating and going to a high. That's a B flat. I was going to a high B flat. So I was going on the demo, and I can hold that on, and I can still play the bass line there. So here's the first part. That's beat 1, so it's like 1, 2, 3. 1, 2. One, 2, 3. So I can let that high fret 6 ring out. 1, 2, 3. Now the rest of that is quite busy. It's much more sort of continuous, so we haven't really got time to put the bass line in again. Incidentally, when you're playing the bass, because we're trying to make it sound, you know, like a bass line, so there's some sort of separation in tone, we want to palm mute it. And also, if you want to, you could put a little bit of slapback delay on. If you can hear that, it's just quickly coming back in. So there's the sound of the bass, but it actually works quite nicely for all of it because it's got a bit of sort of rockabilly sound. You could even put like a bit of slapback, or you could even put a bit of reverb on if you wanted. So this is a bit of overkill. This is reverb and delay, but 1, 3. 1, 2, 3. But just having turned off the effects, here is that intro from this angle. So it's 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. There's the high note. 1, 2, 3. Okay. So just sort of filling it out, keeping the rhythm going, maybe down, up, down, down, up, down. You could do a little sort of mute, or you could just go down, down, up, down, 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 up, down. But then it goes into the main riff, which the harmonica basically sort of doubles that up as well. So that's just sliding from 5 to 7, and then that's on the bass string, fret 3 on the middle B, 3, 5, 3, open. That's it. So you can just try to keep that shuffle, that swung rhythm going, because there's a little bit of space. Again, that just rings out. It's quite a clean sort of Fender amp sound on the original, but if we want to do a single solo arrangement, we can just sort of strum a little bit just to fill it out. So it's can even strum, instead of playing the last note as a single note, you can strum. We're just trying to sort of keep that groove going. That main riff happens 4 times, but the guitarist plays it for a 5th time, and whether or not it was intentional or not, he played it for a 5th time, and then that actually leads into the verse. So Van Morrison comes in with the singing at this point, and there's a call and response riff that the guitar does. Well, there's 2 of them. So he sings "Baby Please Don't Go," and then the first riff is, and he sings "Baby Please Don't Go" again, and the second riff is, so I'll go over the timing in a minute. Let's have a look at this. So fret 5, top string, a little bend. Now he actually does that over a couple of strings, but we haven't got enough, so we're just doing it over a single string on this arrangement. So it's often helpful if you get 2 fingers on the same string when you string bending. You kind of form a little bit of a sort of hinge with your thumb and the base of your first finger, and then you sort of twist like that. So you can just do, it doesn't need to be a very big bend, just the sound of the string moving is enough. That didn't even go up a full fret, I don't think. Now if you can pull off to fret 3, that'd sound ace. But if you can't, that's okay. You can just pick back to the middle string. So it's Baby Please Don't Go. Play the middle string twice. The second riff is hammer on, 3 to 5 on the middle string, play fret 3 on the top string, pull off from 5 to 3, 5 to 3. It's relatively quick, that, and again you might need to check out that sort of technique warm-up video to get that a bit smoother. It's a bit funny. Look, I'm still keeping this pretty sort of flat, sort of finger bending position to be able to play this. If you look how diagonal my fingers are, you don't necessarily want to be like this all the way through. So hammer on, pick, pull off. Let's just try those two riffs from this angle. So vocal start, Baby Please Don't Go, or without the pull off, even slower. Play that one twice. Second one, hammer on. So hammer on, pick, pull off, pull off. Okay. How do we get into those timing wise? So he's just been going and then he plays it one more time, because it's a call and response. The way the vocals come in over the top of the riff, it almost comes in a slightly funny sort of phrasing, and so we just have time to finish this main riff, and then we're straight in with the guitar response to the vocal line, and then he sings again. Second phrase comes straight in. So you got, let's do this once. Okay. So we can possibly kind of fill it out a little bit. It's in the key of E. Why not hit some open strings? Just hitting the open strings there. So you've got, this is the last one of the riff, then first one of the verse. Now, all of that has added up to 4 bars basically. And then there's 4 bars of break. He's still singing at this point. And then the guitar comes in. So you can sort of slide off fret 3 and then slide off 12. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4. Beat one's actually the open. 2. Now, just to kind of finish the riff off, it doesn't actually do it on the original, but it sounds quite nice to slide into fret 3 on the bass, so that's what I was doing. So, up until that point, and then it jumps back in with verse 2, but probably be a good idea to try all of it from the beginning, because It's a really loose recording. This sounds ace. It's a really good recording, but I'm almost 100% certain they all recorded it together in the studio. And great take, but it gets a bit funny in the middle. They're all jumping in slightly different places. It's got that really sort of strong driving beat throughout, but it's difficult to hear exactly where like beat one is here and there. I think the vocals jump in slightly early or slightly late, and then the guitar comes in a funny place as well. But overall it sounds great. So from the beginning up until the end of the verse, 1, 2, 3. One, two, three. Main riff. So it's 4 times with the harmonica. This is the 4th time of the main riff. Verse starts, but one more time. Break. 1, 2, 3, 4. Do it twice again. So again, the way he jumps in with the vocals after that little guitar sort of hook kind of feels slightly odd, and then you do the response guitar riffs. So the vocals are kind of driving the whole structure basically. I've done this one live before, and you know, we were trying to work it out as a band and trying to figure out what was going on in the middle, and you know, clearly it's got to be a live kind of structure, and you need someone to kind of take charge and just sort of you have to follow them, and it sounds like the vocals, you know, when the vocals start phrases, the rest of the band's responding to that. So as opposed to completely counting it, if you're able to play along with the original, again it's in F, so you would have to pitch it down or tune yourself up to F, C, F, or even put a capo on fret 1, and then you can play along with it. But however you want to manage that, ideally try and slow the recording down as well, but then play along with it and just like listen for the vocals, and putting those phrases in is actually quite easy, or much more easy if you're just hearing how they jump in as a response, a call and response to the vocal lines. But basically what we do is we play, so we've got the intro. As soon as the verse starts, we don't play that at the start of any of the other verses. It just comes straight into those sort of call and response vocal and guitar lines right at the beginning of verse 2. All of that again, and jump into verse 3 in exactly the same way. So basically we've got the intro, and then we've got 3 verses back to back. So the verse is basically like 4 bars of vocal and guitar response, then 4 bars of breakdown. Vocals are still going, but it's broken down just to the rhythm section at this point, and then it's 4 bars of that guitar hook, and then it's straight back in with another verse. Okay, so it's like a 12 bar, but it's structured like that. You do that 3 times, and then it goes back to the main riff, which was from the intro, which is exactly the same, but we've just got to slot it in two, because we're sort of grooving through the song at this point, so we've just got to try and slot it in after this guitar hook, which comes at the end of the verse. So it's 1, 2. Now he does a really nice sort of bluesy slide in. It's on the top strings. It's much more twangy on the 6-string guitar, but we can slide from 4 to 5, so that's onto an E note, and we can play the open E as well. We've got 2 ringing through, so that's picking wise. So it's down, up, down, and then so basically we don't play the very start of the riff like we did at the intro. This little slide riff is instead of that, so when we continue and jump back in with the rest of the intro riff, we go straight into that fret 6 note and then finish it off in the same way. So we've got like that, but we also want to try and put in the bass line. Now that's a bit of a stretch. If you can do it, it would sound ace. It would sound really good. I'm finding, because these are quite heavy strings, I've not got the lowest action. I'm finding sliding with my pinky a little bit tricky. If you can slide with your pinky, your little finger, it's going to be easier to reach back and do that fret 2 and open bass line. But if you're finding that's a bit precarious, you know, it's like walking on a tightrope there a little bit. If it's a bit more solid with your 3rd finger, then you've got a bit of a stretch there. But again, if we can put the bass line back in, then we still get a really full sound. So here's the last time round the guitar hook. Now to fit this riff in, we've actually got less of a gap. Right at the beginning there's quite a big long drawn out gap in between each of these guitar little parts of the riff. It's much more compressed. There's less sort of just bass line going on in between it. So straight into the 2nd part of it, straight into the last part. This is all exactly the same. All exactly the same. So basically just the gaps in between the little guitar phrases and where the bass continues just becomes much shorter when we go back to this riff once we're into the main part of the song. Okay, so let's just try going from the final verse into that riff, that slightly more condensed riff. So we've got so I'm going into the final verse. Here's the breakdown. 1, 2, 3, 4. Much shorter. Much of a shorter gap in between the those phrases. Next one. Next one. Okay. Intro, 3 verses, main riff again. We're into a breakdown at this point, and the guitar, you bring back in your main riff. Now he very much palm mutes it. It's got a really nice kind of Fender reverb, kind of a big reverb sound, so it fills it out, but he's actually doing a lot of palm muting. Just do that loads, and again, structure wise it's very much vocal driven, so if you just listen for what the vocals doing, and that will cue you back into the final verse. So you just keep that going. You can build it up, you know, you can come off the palm muting because the harmonica joins back in, and then again listen for the vocal jumping back in. Exactly the same call and response, exactly the same final verse. In fact, you do 2 final verses, and then you go back into the main riff in exactly the same way as we go into the main riff from verse 3, and you completely finish the main riff and just doing a very abrupt ending. Just stop like that, and that is the full structure for Baby Please Don't Go by them. Alright, so there we have it. Great tune. I hope that was useful. Hope you have fun with it. I think it works quite nicely. Again, it's another one that actually works surprisingly well on 3 strings. And as well as downloading the free song chart, if you're interested, you can download a PDF for scale charts and chord boxes in EBE and also DAD tuning, so it goes along with all of the songs that we've been looking at recently, so useful reference sheets. But that's about it, so have fun, and I will see you here again soon for another Cigar Box guitar lesson.